Okay, today is Thursday, March 13th, and this is the first meeting of the Westport Community Schools Superintendent Search Subcommittee. Time is now woefully late at 4:53. And I will call the meeting to order and ask real quick if we could just stand for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all very much. This meeting is being conducted as a hybrid meeting on March 29, 2023. Governor Maura Healey signed into law Chapter 2 of the Act 2023, which includes a 2-year extension of the option for public bodies to hold remote meetings effective immediately. This legislation simply extends the current option for remote meetings through March 31st, 2025, and does not otherwise affect the ability of public bodies to conduct their meetings remotely through video and/or audio conferencing under Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021. I would note that this meeting is going to be conducted in an open session with an executive session to follow at 5:30. There is a separate link, and we'll just all pray that it works when that time comes. So the Superintendent Search Subcommittee has been established by the school committee to oversee the process of identifying and recommending candidates for the position of superintendent. Our role is to review applications, conduct interviews, and ultimately present a list of finalists to the full school committee for consideration. This is an incredibly important process, and as the superintendent plays obviously a crucial role in shaping the future of Westport Community Schools. I would like to thank each of you for your time, dedication to this effort. For your commitment to this process is to ensure that we'll find a strong candidate to best serve our staff, students, and the Westport community. Very quickly, I'd like to go around the room and the virtual room to just do quick introductions. I'll start out. My name is Mr. Thrasher. I'm on the school committee and have been selected as the chair of this subcommittee. And I guess we'll start there.
I am Chris Nunes. I'm the middle school band director, pep band director, auto tech director for the auditorium, jack of all trades, master of none, I suppose.
I'm Nikki Potter. I have a child here at the middle school and a daughter at the elementary school. I was actually on the search committee back in 2018, I think it was, for the superintendent process. So I'm honored to be here again. I think I bring a unique lens to the committee. I am a sitting school business manager, so I have a strong financial background. And I completely understand the challenges that schools face with regards to funding and finding a strong leader. So.
Amy Aguda. I'm the special ed clerk for 5 through 12 plus. I've been in the district 23 years. So I've had quite a few superintendents. So I am also looking forward to this process. Thank you.
Laura Charette, building principal of the middle high school. I have been in Westport for 17 years, started as a math teacher, and now a building administrator.
Lori Mello on the, well, I'm not on the committee, so I'll just be quiet.
I've worked with 4 superintendents, but I've never been on a superintendent search. So I look forward to it.
I'm Sharon Pino, the recording secretary.
Suzanne, you want to introduce yourself briefly, or?
Yes, I'm Suzanne Walensky. I'm the school nurse on, been there for 15 years, traveled to Washington, D.C. with Mr. Viveris, and it was lovely.
Okay.
Jay's coming on.
Secrets out. Jay's coming on as well.
Yeah, as long as he accepts the panelist invite.
There we go.
Yeah.
Excellent. Jay, sorry.
Yeah, I'll talk to that Washington.
Thanks for bearing with us here, Jay. We're just doing just quick introductions right quick. So you want to say hello?
No problem. Jason Pacheco. Sorry, I had to join from home today. But former employee of the district, current school committee member with 2 children in the district, one at the high school and one at the middle school.
Thank you, Jay. So I would ask Lori, would it be possible for you to email what I sent you over to Jay and
Absolutely.
And that way they have, and I'll do a follow-up email with the full committee afterwards. Thank you to everybody who's able to attend today. Sorry about the late start, bit of a technical challenge. I should mention the purpose of having this particular meeting be a hybrid meeting was so that we're going to go over some of the process here, and just wanted to make sure that there was a recording. I understand, obviously, that we have quite a few members who aren't able to attend today. Going forward, the meetings there will be a poll sent out, a doodle poll to figure out exactly the best time for the meetings going ahead. What I'm going to do today is just go over a memo that I have provided everybody with a copy of here. I will also, Suzanne and Jay, Lori is sending you a copy right now, and I'll also be sending this copy, sending a copy to the full committee after today's meeting. So just want to go over a few of the expectations, the process going forward here. As I mentioned earlier, we currently have 10 candidates that have applied thus far. There will be a screening through, or I should say that the HR director is going to take a look just to make sure everybody's meets the required conditions or required credentials as per the posted job description. So we may or may not have 10 candidates or more to see. We can basically go through those and figure out who we want to interview out of those as semifinalists. So I'm just going to go through the memo right quick. As I mentioned again, thank you to everybody for being a part of this. It's certainly quite an undertaking here. I'm going to just read a few things. First of all, the search subcommittee expectations to maintain fairness, professionalism, and efficiency. All members are expected to adhere to the following. Please note, strict confidentiality is required at all times. So all candidate discussions, interviews, and all the related materials must remain private. And that does mean not discussing the applicants or anything that this subcommittee discusses in executive session outside of executive session. We do have a confidentiality agreement that has been provided to us by our HR director, and I would ask everybody to just read and sign that. For those of you who are here, you can do it before you leave today. That would be most appreciated. As far as the structure of the meetings, I am going to try and adhere to Robert's Rules of Order. I imagine that when we get 12 people deep here all at once, it can get a little crazy. So I just want to make sure that we're able to have an efficient process and just would like everybody to adhere to that type of requirements, and also professional decorum and all that good stuff. So the search subcommittee, the composition, as everyone knows here, it has 2 members of the school committee, which is myself and Mr. Pacheco, the president of the Westport Federation of Teachers, president of ASME, the 2 administrative staff members, 2 additional reps from the district staff, 2 parent representatives, and 2 community representatives. If anyone has not seen the superintendent search subcommittee, I guess, purpose or whatever, the document that was approved by the school committee, please take a look at that, and I'll make sure you email that as well. So back to the meeting dates and times going forward. Each of you will have a link to the poll. Please, as soon as you're able to, try and get that back so we can figure out the right time. So just going to say a little bit about the application review and the selection of the semifinalists. So again, the HR directors will conduct an initial review, and then they'll be presented to the subcommittee at our next meeting, which is going to be next week sometime. We'll figure out the best date and time. We'll review all the applications and select semifinalists for interviews. I do want to mention right now that this is another example of why everything beyond this meeting is going to be in an executive session. and the applications and all the credentials and everything that's presented by the candidates, you'll be able to view those in the executive session, but you can't take copies with this just to maintain sort of confidentiality for our candidates. I am going to make sure that all the materials will be available for review 30 minutes before the scheduled time for the beach meeting. And if anyone needs an additional appointment time to take a look at any documents, we can arrange that with Kristen as well. So the plan of action is to have interviews with the candidates that we select that would last somewhere between 60 and 90 minutes. I don't necessarily think we'll need all the 90-minute candidate, but I just wanted to make sure that everybody has an opportunity. So the chair and myself will ask introductory questions of each candidate, and then each of the 12 subcommittee members will have 5 minutes to ask questions with 30 minutes reserved for follow-ups. Now, I am asking for every question to be submitted in writing ahead of time. The reason I'm doing that is not to vet questions or keep anything from coming up. It's just so that we can have the most efficient process and make sure that we have, even if someone's asking the same question, you'll figure out kind of assignments, if you will.
Chris,
Shoot.
so I was gonna ask you about that. If each member has 5 minutes to ask questions, during those 5 minutes, they can decide, if Laura already asked one of my questions and Chris asked another one of my questions, regardless if I submitted them or not. Well, I want to on the fly be able to ask a different question.
So that I did want to mention that no matter what, the opportunity for follow-ups, absolutely. So if I don't, basically, I'd like to start with everything in writing. And then that doesn't mean that that's the only question anybody's going to be allowed to ask or anything like that. I just, in order to try and figure out, like I said, not to go over or anything. And I would very much like to have all the questions submitted ahead of time for the first questions, but follow-ups, absolutely.
Again,
that's
I'm
5
about the
minutes,
last
5
one asking questions. And, all of my questions have been asked and answered, and I still have my 5 minutes to ask questions. I'm just gonna come up with something that, somebody hasn't touched me.
So when I say again, I'm asking that everybody submit the questions, but I will say you're not going to be limited to just what you've submitted. I just want to be clear on that. I'm not, this isn't, the purpose of this isn't to vet anything. It's just to try and distribute, I guess, the process as best as possible. And the other thing is I will say I have inquired on a couple search committee, a couple of people who have been involved in search committees for other things outside of this, for other positions. And they mentioned, two individuals actually mentioned that this was a good way to keep a committee that's a large working committee, keep it moving and make sure that we can use the time the best. So, but again, I'm not gonna, it's not like I'm gonna, scold you for asking a question that wasn't submitted, but I would ask that everybody submit it ahead of time if possible. The other key for that is we do want to have a fair process, so we want to make sure that by and large we're asking the same questions of every candidate. I do think there's going to be instances where a certain a certain part of someone's resume or a certain part of someone's background, there might be different questions. And that's of course going to be welcome as well. But I would, as much as possible, like to keep questions.
Chris, if the idea of this committee, and again, I haven't been on one of these, and I hope I didn't sign up for something I don't want to do. My intention is to ask these guys or gals, what's your favorite color? What kind of car do you drive? And ask every single one of those same stupid questions. Well, after listening to them, maybe answering some of your questions, I'm going to have a very good idea of what kind of questions I want to ask. And I won't necessarily ask the same question of all candidates because that's not fair. I mean, again, after listening to these people and listening to the conversation going on in the room, a question pops into my mind, I think every candidate should be able to ask that question. I think that's not
Well,
fair.
and no matter what, you're gonna have that opportunity, that's what I'm saying. I guess the point of this is efficiency, and I do think it is fair to have by and large the same.
And if you hold the members to
Now-
the 5 minutes. hey,
That's the
5 minutes,
thing, your 5 minutes is your 5 minutes. Yeah, now, I just, the bottom line here is, I don't want anybody to walk out of these meetings with a question that wasn't asked just because you didn't submit it. Like, if something comes up, absolutely. I am, again, this is a request to try and make this as smooth a process as possible. And I do think that in fairness, most of the questions should be similar. Yeah, I think, I think,
I think from that,
yeah, absolutely.
I think from like a HR perspective, you should have a standard set of questions, then you can go on from there asking candidate specific questions. But really the intent in going into the initial search should be a template of here's 25 questions that we're asking every single candidate, and then you ask for follow-up questions. Absolutely. It's almost like we take turns asking the question and then, you do your follow-up question.
That's exactly what I'm kind of envisioning here.
Will they get a copy of the questions?
That is something I actually wanted to talk with.
Oh, okay.
the
I'm rushing.
members. No, that's actually, that was time actually.
And
So,
I just, Suzanne has her hand up, so I want to
Oh.
make sure.
go right ahead.
Thank you. Are you going to decide the number of candidates interviewed based on the review of the credentials, or do you have a set number in mind?
No, that the committee is going to decide. That's actually our next week's meeting. That's exactly
Okay.
what we're going to talk about. The purpose of today's executive session in 20 minutes, if I can talk fast enough, is that I'm going to just give everybody a list of what we have thus far. I also want to mention the application states that there's a strong preference that people submit their application by next Monday. We left it open in a way where if something comes in beyond that, that doesn't necessarily automatically exclude somebody from being considered, but by and large, we should have most of the vast majority of the applicants by next Monday. Then we'll come back with next week's meeting and go and decide how many people we want to interview. I think it's realistic to not expect to interview all 10, but at the same time, I do think that there's a lot of good candidates already for sure. But I'm going to leave that to the committees.
I think submitting them ahead of time allows you to group them together into like themes, right? So if you and I ask a budget question and it's a very similar question, well, we don't want to waste your time asking the same question. Let's just get it as one question and then we can move on. And it gives us the ability to ask deeper questions, right? By sort of consolidating them, I guess.
That's the intention. That is the exact intention. So, and what you just mentioned from the,
I asked if the candidates will have a list of the questions.
So that is actually something I was curious. I think that there should be, I do agree that we should have kind of like, that's what I'm saying, preliminary questions, just, but I don't necessarily want to give all the candidates all of the questions up ahead of time. But maybe if we come up with, say, 5 standard ones, just to start out with, or something, I mean, something to that. And part of it is I find that I'm able to gauge, in other settings beyond this, when hiring, an open-ended prompt is usually gives you the most info about somebody or their approach to anything. So, I would probably begin the question by, all right, Will Feshers, tell us a little bit about yourself, what's something you want to highlight and go from there. And then that's something that I would like to discuss with as many as possible at our next meeting when we're going through resumes and going through to select the candidates to interview. So, going back to the number, like I said, we may have more, we may have less, depending on who applies, and also the first round of screening, just to make sure everybody's got credentials. So, Suzanne, I see
I think her hand
Or
was
is that an
up.
artifact? Okay.
Um,
There you go.
I think she.
Down,
yeah.
okay,
Yep.
perfect.
Okay, excellent. No worries. Just wanted to make sure we're not, just wanted to make sure we're not missing it.
She's just messing with everybody. I got a question. No.
Okay, so let's see, the next thing is talking about the timeline. I mentioned this here on the interview process, but it's also in the timeline. When I say this, please understand it's a goal. We're gonna see if we can make this work. But my hope is that we will be able to have all of the interviews take place during the week of March 31st through April. So that does mean multiple meetings that week. But I think we're on a bit of an accelerated timeline to make sure that we have the opportunity, I guess, to negotiate with whoever the finalist is going to be during May, and making sure that for the June first start date, we're ready to go. So we are on a bit of an aggressive timeline, and I'm hoping that we'll be able to do the interviews that week. If you look at the superintendent search timeline here, you'll see just what I was talking about earlier. So that next week, the meeting will be the selection of those to interview. We'll set the interview schedule after the 24th, the week of the 24th through that's a bit of a typo there, but I think you guys know what I mean here. And then let's see, the meetings on the 31st through April 4th. The expectation is that we'll select a finalist, the finalist to give to the committee the week of April 7th, then make a report to the school committee, and then the process continues from there beyond our subcommittee's charge here. So a couple of notes on the plan for the final report to the school committee. We're charged with reporting at least 3 finalists to the school committee. Now, if we feel strongly there needs to be more, if the committee votes to have more, that we certainly have that option. I would give that pause, just, let's think about the process here as far as what's going to happen with public meetings and public the public interviews. So, more than 3, I would say. My personal opinion would be that 3 would suffice, but again, if the committee feels strongly that we have additional candidates that need to be considered as finalists, so be it. The other thing that I would respectfully ask is that we choose as a subcommittee not to rank the finalists. And there's a specific reason I'm asking for that. As I said before, most of the deliberations that we are going to be doing as a subcommittee is going to be in executive session, and it's not going to be public. I do believe that a crucial part of selecting the next superintendent is giving the public an opportunity to be a part of the process in open school meetings, school committee meetings. And so what happens is when we report the finalists back to the school committee will then set up public within the public session interviews with those finalists. So again, I would just ask that the subcommittee not necessarily rank the finalists and let that process play out in the public school committee meetings. So, and of course, I will.
Just real quick, Mr. Chair. Just for my own personal knowledge, and I try to see the forest for the trees. I've had the interesting ability to see the side stage of a whole lot of superintendent searches growing up, because my dad has been on and still is on Dartmouth School Committee since 1990. So I've seen some of the process from the outside. I know this is a very aggressive timeline, and that kind of, just from knowing what I've seen in the past, that makes me a little, I don't want to say uncomfortable, but nervous. Is there some sort of plan B, for a lack of a better term, as in, if we go through this and we're not totally sold on something, is there the possibility of like a 1 year, interim while we complete a larger, I don't want to say more thorough, but
So
more thorough, I guess, is the word, even though it's probably not the best choice of words.
let me answer that in two parts here. First of all, is there a plan B? As far as the timeline goes, absolutely. In my mind, there is. As far as the question of an interim, that would be a question for the school committee as a whole. But our charge as a subcommittee, so to speak, is to report back finalists. And we will be presenting a report, and if we come up, if out of all these candidates, we don't feel, we're presenting 3 finalists, but we don't feel that sanguine about them, we can mention that in the report, and the school committee could go from there. As far as alternative timelines and everything, I will say that in my mind, there is a plan B, but I'm gonna fall back to the old, pray for rain, carry an umbrella, so we're gonna hope we can stick to this timeline, and if adjustments need to be made, of course, you'll be able to make them. So beyond what we've talked about here, I think that's pretty much the gist of the plan of action. But I would certainly entertain any questions, any thoughts or follow-ups that anybody has at this time.
Has there been any discussion about surveying families and staff about what they're looking for in a leader?
So I will tell you that I've informally had a couple of conversations with the school committee chair about that. I think that is something that this committee could absolutely, ask the full school committee, can we put something about that? I only say that just because it's not officially part of our charge, but I think I think that would actually, be an excellent thing to do. I will say that I put out there publicly that I want anyone who has specific concerns, specific questions, please come to me. I'm going to be happy to ask certain things of the candidates. So, and I'm hoping that every member of the committee would certainly be able to be willing to get feedback from individuals as far as what questions to help them inform what questions to ask. Now, again, confidentiality is crucial, and that we don't necessarily discuss the candidates with members of the public, but at the same time, I certainly hope to have some of the questions that I ask come from those from outside of the committee, the school committee. So is that something that the rest of the committee would like to, actually, we can't put together for the next, for the school committee, as far as putting out a survey?
I have no issues with it. I just, my only fear is finding a way to keep it kind of narrow, because otherwise you end up with whoever is getting charged with having to put the survey together and tally everything is going to be getting, 7,000 questions that they have to weed through and narrow down. So maybe if there's a way to streamline it and kind of steer it in a certain direction.
Well, you could come up with themes, right? Like curriculum.
That would work, yeah. Something like
District
that.
leadership, I don't know, operations and maintenance. And then just have people prioritize it, and then it's a simple Google form, really. I think it would take like a week, maybe, like throw it out to the community, and I just think you get more buy-in with whoever you hire when you hear from the masses.
Could we use the current rubric that the superintendent is evaluated on to maybe guide how we put the questions for the survey?
Yeah, that's actually. Yeah.
It doesn't have to be lengthy, because you don't
No.
want it to be overwhelming, but at least if you get some feedback, because.
I completely agree with you with like the headers, like, and that's how the rubric is designed.
So pretty. Yeah, I think, so, Laura, you posted the school committee for next week.
I did already, yeah.
Technically,
Yeah, I can end it
If
tomorrow.
we can add, a request, so the only reason I say that I'd like to just take that to the full school committees, because technically it's not part of our,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah,
but,
absolutely.
but I think that would be a great idea. So I can get that to, on the school committee, and I'll figure out exactly what words to use, I guess, on
We
the
can send it out as one of the survey monkey things, right? Like, out of these things, which ones are?
Yeah,
important to you?
yeah.
Yeah, sorry, or even.
So, yeah, it could be very simple, I'm sure, it doesn't have to be anything extensive.
But I wouldn't think the committee wouldn't want to hear from their staff, like what they're looking for in a leader. I think that just goes a long way. And your community, you want to know what your family is, want to see in a
Tell
leader.
people like, hey, this is where the link is, go with.
Yeah, no, I think that would be great. I also would like, you know, I'd probably add, in addition to the root report, just, hey, is there a particular question you'd like to ask, you know, or to have it asked of the candidates, so, for the same, I mean, when we're talking about a lot of questions from the committee, that same thing, you know. So, yeah, that's great, and I'll make sure that it's ready to go pretty much as soon as the vote on Tuesday, so. I can't imagine that wouldn't, pass pretty quickly, so. So. That's it. So does anybody else have anything else they want to mention on this at all? I'd like to go back once again to, what's saying there. I think that we do have an aggressive timeline. I will tell you, with having seen the candidates list that I have thus far, I think we've got some pretty good options. So, you know, we'll see how the committee feels after meeting some of them, but I think, I think this is doable.
I mean, we do want to be aggressive with the timeline, because the longer you stretch it out, these candidates will be offered jobs and take jobs.
No, I understand that.
But to the extent that you could do it, yeah, you want to go through it quickly.
And I know this search subcommittee is kind of a different way of doing it perhaps, but, by doing this, I guess we have the ability to kind of crowdsource, number one, to get the best questions asked. But it's also worth noting, we're probably going to save the district somewhere between $25,000 to $50,000 by doing it in-house. And I personally think we're going to come up with a better result this way than we would if we farmed it out. So that's yeah, it's going to take some effort here, but I think we're in pretty good shape. So.
Real quick, Mr. Chair, I know
Yes.
I may be jumping the gun, I don't
Fire
know
away.
if it's gonna be talked in, executive, but the site visits for the finalists, is that something that us, like any of us that are on the committee are able to, or is that going to be strictly through school committee?
I will say that I can't technically answer that. My gut says it'll be an open situation. Technically speaking, this committee's purview and this committee will terminate upon the report given to the school committee. I put the rest of the timeline in there because that is the timeline that you know, Kristen HR had come up with. But I just don't, I don't see that being a problem. I just can't officially answer, I guess, just like stay with these chairs. So, so is Jay or Suzanne, anything else? Anyone have anything else to inquire about at this time, or?
No, everything sounds, pretty standard, to me at this point. So just looking forward to, getting on with it.
Excellent, excellent. All right. Well, I will say that in approximately 3 minutes, 2 minutes, so we'll have a brief executive session, and I'll just go over the candidates that we have thus far, just so everybody knows where we're at, and then go from there. But unless there's anything else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Sorry.
Second to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
We technically have to take a roll call, I guess, this one's at the time, but so I'll start with you, Mr. Chico.
Hi, Jason Pacheco.
Let's get. Suzanne, are you there?
Oh, yes, I, Suzanne Walensky.
Thank you.
Hi, Tony Rivera.
Hi, Christian.
I need your phone. My name is Ruda.
Hi, Laura Schreck.
Hi, Christopher Asher. We are adjourned at 5:27.